Classified documents are continuing to make headlines, from former President Donald Trump and former VP Mike Pence to sitting President Joe Biden. But it's not a unique problem for high-ranking government leaders. In fact, it goes back all the way to Jimmy Carter's presidency. In a new report, an anonymous source tells the Associated Press that former officials turn over classified information they found several times a year. In fact, one source says Carter once found classified materials at his home in Plains and turned them over to the National Archives. President Carter himself actually created the Presidential Records Act of 1978, just 3 years before he left office. The act namely changed legal ownership of the official records of the president from private to public, and it set up a new structure for how presidents must manage records from their administrations. It didn't go into effect for Carter's own presidency, but Carter still invited federal archivists to help him organize his records before they were sent to his presidential library right here in Atlanta. And right now, the National Archives is asking all former presidents and vice presidents to conduct a search for any classified documents that may be in their possession. The offices of former presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush told NBC News this week that they were in compliance with the presidential records law. Former Vice President Dan Quayle's office says they have not received the inquiry, but will fully cooperate if contacted. Joining me now is Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Ariana.
So you're releasing the results of an NBC poll out today without giving away just too much. What does it suggest about bipartisan concern over classified documents ending up in places that they shouldn't?
I think the most fascinating finding is on that front, which is an equal number of folks, large majorities, 2/3 of the country, have a high level of concern about what Donald Trump did and a high level of concern about what President Biden did. And interestingly, including members of their own party, a majority of Republicans have concern about Trump's actions, and a majority of Democrats have real concerns about Biden's actions. So the lack of distinction, the voters don't see a distinction between how the two handled it. One may have been more cooperative than the other. That doesn't seem to have mattered as far as the public is concerned. And I think it's an important point for folks at the White House to understand. I think that is why the two special counsels really have sort of, I think, muddied the water. So whatever thoughts some had that this was going to be a bigger problem for Trump than Biden, and it still could end up legally that it is, as far as politically, this is a problem for both of them.